Hello everyone, my name is Julia Sterbach. I am an expert in overseas real estate, residence permit and citizenship programs at Nevestate. On our channel, we talk about how to invest in foreign real estate for your own residence, for obtaining a residence permit, citizenship, for generating income, and for relocation as well. And today we are going to talk about real estate in Greece, which is perfect both for relocation, if someone is considering moving, and for generating passive income through rentals, as well as for capitalizing on properties under construction. For this, I have invited Elena, a representative of the developer, who will tell us more about these properties in detail. Elena, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Julia. Thank you for inviting me to today's discussion. I'll be happy to share my opinion and, of course, talk about our projects.
Yes, and it's no coincidence that the webinar is titled Greece, How to Invest with Both Mind and Heart. That is, when we choose real estate for ourselves to live in, for many people it's not just about the technical or financial aspects, where it's located, what infrastructure is nearby, what's around, and for what purpose it's being purchased. But when it comes to living, things like the view from the window, the location where we'll live, and how our life will unfold, there also matter. For some people, for example, the availability of walking areas is important. If there are small children or pets, where and how they will walk, whether there are parks nearby. For others, it's the infrastructure, having restaurants and shops nearby so you don't have to drive or spend time traveling, so everything is at hand and fits your lifestyle. But even those clients who are buying to move in themselves, based on their own personal preferences or the way it looks, still, of course, it's not just about the property itself. I always tell my clients, even potential ones who are just starting to think about it, that real estate should always be investment attractive. Circumstances in life can change, and you might need to sell it, and sell it urgently at that. Of course, it's about preserving and even increasing your investment in the future. If circumstances change and you need to sell, even if this is not your second but your first home. Naturally, everyone wants to sell at a profit. That's why we've found these properties for you. Two of the most interesting options. And now we'll take a closer look at them.
We build in Athens. Our headquarters is mainly in Athens, and we primarily develop properties in Athens and the city of Piraeus. Legally, it's a separate city, but in reality, it has already merged with Athens. When you travel from Athens to Piraeus, you can hardly see the border between these two cities, but legally, it is a separate city. It is in Piraeus that the port is located, from which all ships depart, both ferries that go to all the islands like the Cyclades, Naxos, Paros, Santorini, and so on, as well as cruise liners that arrive in Athens. They arrive specifically at this port in the city of Piraeus. And this particular complex is located in the city of Piraeus. It is situated on Gregoriou Lambraki Street, and this is exactly where this residential complex is located. From the upper floors of this residential complex, there is a sea view that can be seen from one side, the view we are seeing now, as well as in the other direction. From the upper floors, there is also a sea view. The thing is, in Greece, as you may have noticed, especially in Athens, there are no very tall buildings. In fact, according to Greek law, it is not allowed to build higher than 6 or 7 stories, because from the roof of any house, the Acropolis must be visible. Greeks are a very patriotic people. They like for this heritage, yes, to be preserved. Therefore, according to architectural standards, unfortunately, we cannot build any higher. Nevertheless, there are exceptions. You can also see in the photo the only tall building here, which is located close to the sea, is in Piraeus, but that's an exception to the rule. But overall, that's how it is here. This residential complex will be 11 stories high. And in addition, we will have 3 underground parking levels. You can see how dense the development is here, so it's very important for Piraeus to have its own parking space. And that's why residents of Piraeus who don't have parking, of course, really struggle in this regard, because it's very difficult to find a place to park your car. Residents of neighboring buildings who see that we are constructing facilities and notice from the advertisements that there is parking, they simply write to us asking if they can buy parking spaces separately from us. We do not sell them in any way. With each apartment, the owner immediately receives a parking space and a storage room. This is included automatically. It is not sold for an additional fee. It is already included because we think about our future residents and care about their comfort. If we talk about Piraeus in general, it's a truly historic city with a huge number of fascinating museums, a grand theater, and a modern metro system. It's about a comfortable 10-minute walk to the metro station, making it quite accessible. And from there, you can get to any part of Athens by metro. Of course, there is also public transportation. There is a tram line running next to this residential complex, which is also convenient for getting around if you don't have your own vehicle. But again, for those with their own cars, we have provided parking. There are a huge number of stores in Piraeus, grocery stores, and local shops. So everything from meat, fish, vegetables, fruits to regular mini markets is all nearby and within walking distance. Once a week, every neighborhood in Greece has a local market that comes, and the residents of each area go to a designated spot to buy fresh vegetables and fruit. This is very popular among the local population. This residential complex is part of a large urban development in the city. We are developing not only this residential complex, but also the surrounding buildings. So it's an entire complex of buildings, some of which are being renovated and some are new constructions. The project we're discussing with you now, an 11-story building, is a new construction. But the photo you have open right now shows the neighboring buildings that we will be renovating. Why am I emphasizing this? Because overall, the development in Piraeus and Athens, in my opinion, and let me clarify that this is just my personal view, is quite simple in terms of architecture. That is, most of the buildings date back to the 1960s and 1970s. And when you enter the city, you sometimes feel that it's lacking a certain aesthetic beauty, and you wish you could see something out of the ordinary. So our company, our developer, decided to change the appearance of an entire district in this city, in the city of Piraeus. That's why we acquired several plots and are redeveloping multiple properties at once. We are doing this together with a well-known Greek architectural firm and partners. And the architecture you see now in the photos, again, in my opinion, yes, from my perspective, is quite interesting and modern, and it truly transforms the look of this city and in particular the district. The local residents actively agree with us because when they see, we even appeared on local television, and when they saw these photos, they said, so this is what Piraeus will actually look like. Just wait a few years, we'll finish construction, and it really will be this beautiful. That's why the municipality of Piraeus is actively supporting us in this project, helping us obtain all the necessary permits. We are succeeding, so the complexes you will see in the near future will no longer be just 3D models. They will be real buildings.
Well, compared to those buildings that are truly traditional from the 20th century, when the city was being developed, of course, yes, they are already outdated in terms of design. A bit of a dull grayness. And here we have new architectural solutions.
Thank you for reminding me about the grayness. And that immediately made me think of landscaping. So in addition to building, we are also landscaping certain areas. There will be park zones, playgrounds for children, and in general, green oases where it's pleasant to spend time. In addition, all the buildings are aiming for the first LEED certification in Greece. This is a certain level of energy efficiency. In other words, we care about nature, the environment, and building from a sustainability perspective. The buildings we are constructing are A+ class in terms of energy efficiency. What does this mean for the owners? First of all, it means low utility cost, which is very important because if a client buys an old building, let's say from the 1960s or 1970s, the utility bills will be very high since utility costs in Greece are quite high, especially when it comes to electricity.
So here, as I understand it, this is the development plan for this area, right?
Yes, that's correct. So it's not just a single building, but rather an entire complex of buildings which are being developed in stages. Some are being renovated and some are new constructions. And also, as you can see here on the green background on this green site, that's the former tobacco factory, which we will be redeveloping into a multi-story residential complex. But today, that's not what we're talking about. Today, we're talking about something else.
Just so it's clear, let's say the scale you have as a major developer who is entering the area on a large scale, it inspires more trust.
Yes, of course. Whenever we have an individual meeting or if clients come to visit us in Athens, we always show them the projects we have already completed so they can get an idea of the quality of our construction. Sometimes we even offer to go inside. For example, if it's a hotel complex and there are available units, we always arrange with the tenants so we can show what our finished properties look like from the inside.
So, for example, yes, let's talk in more detail about this project. What exactly is it? What does it represent?
This project is located in Piraeus on Lambraki Street. There are 44 apartments. In terms of layout, these are either one-bedroom or two-bedroom apartments with some partially two-bedroom units. There are layouts with 1 bathroom and layouts with 2 bathrooms. So for example, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, or 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, depending on the size and location. All the apartments have a balcony. When you come to Greece, when you want to really soak in the atmosphere, a balcony is a must. This is the terrace. If the space allows many people, put tables out there and have breakfast or dinner. Some even set up a barbecue, to be honest with you. And they have barbecues on their terraces from time to time. That's why the terrace should be on the upper floors. Again, I'll repeat that you get a sea view. We have drone photos showing what the view will look like from each floor.
Yes, exactly. For those clients who are buying property online and aren't planning a trip, we'll provide all the materials. If you're interested, leave your contact information below this video and we'll get in touch with you and send you all the materials. And of course, we'll give you a personal consultation. Here you can see the type of development we're talking about.
We have a monolithic structure. That means we're using high-strength rebar and concrete here. All of this is poured because you have to understand that Greece in general, and Athens in particular, is a seismic zone.
That's also an important point.
Quakes, yes, and according to construction standards, any building must withstand, at least according to the new criteria now for the project we're delivering, it must withstand a magnitude 9 earthquake. That's why, of course, the structure will be monolithic. Naturally, yes, there is an elevator in every building. That's a must. For the underground parking, there's a separate elevator that lowers the car to the lower levels, and there's also one to the first floor. Our first and second floors will be commercial spaces.
I'd like to draw your attention to this slide and open up this topic a bit. That is, specifically regarding the investment appeal of Greece and Athens in particular, as the capital, those who purchase real estate and, for example, might want to sell it. So naturally, it's not just the external market. Greece and Athens in particular are very popular among foreigners, but also on the domestic market. In other words, how can you resell or rent it out later if someone is choosing not for their own residence, but specifically for investment purposes? How can you make money from this? Here you can see a chart of growth. What can you add to this slide?
I can add that sometimes clients who aren't very familiar with Greece come to me and say, but isn't there a crisis in Greece? So what is there to buy? What kind of real estate? In reality, Greece has long since come out of the crisis. Since 2020, Greece's economy has shown steady growth and real estate prices have been rising year after year. Naturally, this is also facilitated by, if we're talking about direct foreign investments, which are coming into the country first and foremost. I can't ignore the significance of the Golden Visa program. Clients buy real estate for themselves and accordingly receive a residence permit. This program has existed for many years and it has undergone some changes. And the most recent change was when the threshold was raised. So initially it was 250 in any area, regardless of the size or anything else. Then some complications started to arise. Currently, at this moment, the 250 threshold applies only to properties that have changed their designation. But if we're talking about Athens and Piraeus, then to buy a residential property here, the price starts from 800,000 euros and the area must be at least 120 square meters. If we're talking about this particular complex, the only thing available here for a residence permit is a commercial space. Yes, it is suitable, but at the moment it costs 1,400,000.
For those considering it as an investment, yes, it's quite...
Yes, they will live there, but you need this investment, 1,400,000. And it offers a very good return, up to 11.5%.
To get a residence permit from a major developer, we meet with you from time to time. Record our videos about your project so you can also
switch to another video.
Yes, leave your contact information. We will find a property for the Golden Visa. In this webinar, we are looking at other projects that are more for lifestyle and investment. So what influences this is indeed demand. That's why we mentioned the Golden Visa program in this video, because it also serves as an incentive. And accordingly, there is an inflow of foreign capital. And again, all of this affects the increase in value. And going forward, these will continue to be, let's say, such stable indicators. At the same time, Greece remains one of the most affordable countries in Europe in terms of price category. If you compare similar properties in neighboring European countries, especially in Western Europe, where the growth and rental income rates are not as high. That's why Greece has a number of factors that attract investors, such as a lower entry threshold compared to other European countries. If we look at and compare the stable European market, both in terms of future resale and income generation, so there are many factors here that work in favor of Greece and especially real estate in Athens.
If we talk about the overall housing shortage in Greece, it is enormous. That is, there are 210,000 properties needed to cover the overall housing shortage in Greece. Why did this situation arise? Because until the end of 2019, there was a VAT on new builds in Greece. In other words, VAT in Greece is 24%. Just imagine for a resident to buy a new property in Greece, they had to add 24% tax to the total price. Naturally, sales came to a halt at that time. Of course, demand started to decline. In other words, people simply didn't have enough resources to pay. As a result, nothing new was being built. There were very few offers on the market from anyone willing to build with such a tax in place. At the end of 2019, a moratorium was introduced on this law. It is still in effect to this day. And since then, construction has become very active. But considering the level of demand, people are constantly being born, the city is expanding, new residents are arriving, there has been a general housing shortage. At the moment, this shortage is enormous. That's why the demand on the market, I'm talking about all of Greece in general, though Athens and Piraeus are, of course, the most dynamic market, deals close the fastest, specifically in these cities. So if you're thinking, for example, about entering at the construction stage and then reselling the property once it's finished, you should definitely focus on Athens and Piraeus.
Yes, because this isn't seasonal real estate like in resort areas of Greece, including the northern regions and the islands. Here, it's a more stable year-round situation. Plus, of course, who are you going to rent to? You rent to those who are constantly here, coming, moving, looking, both the domestic and international markets. Education and work are the main factors attracting potential tenants. Here, as you can see on the screen, we have
yes, the stages of implementation, meaning how we are planning this complex.
Let's say yes. Let's start with the minimum price. What is the entry threshold? How can you get in? And what kind of installment plans are available during the construction stages? So, what exactly are the numbers? Yes, can we offer a profitable, attractive investment plan for potential clients?
I can say that we put this complex up for sale quite recently. It is still only at the stage where we are preparing the documents and starting the groundwork. Almost 50% of the complex has already been sold. And mainly, I can say that these are local residents and locals who are interested in this area, who like the architecture of this building, who appreciate the amenities, and accordingly like the installment plan. The down payment is only 5%. And then for the entire construction period, which is 2 years, you get an interest-free installment plan from the developer. You will make payments in stages according to the plan. At the same time, the purchase agreement is signed right now. So you pay 5%, and after that, the purchase agreement is signed, and you already have all the rights to this residential property or horizontal ownership, to use the legal term. Accordingly, you already receive it, and this agreement is signed with a cancellation condition in case you fail to pay on time, so that we can also protect ourselves somehow. So it is signed with a cancellation condition. After the full amount is paid, an act of complete transfer of ownership is signed. But the rights to the property are transferred immediately after the signing of the purchase and sale agreement, which primarily protects the client.
Yes. And the fact that you mention high demand among the local population is a very good indicator for any country, especially for foreign investments. If you want to purchase in another country, you should always think about how you will, if it's for investment, sell it later. For example, you can buy at the construction stage and then, once it's completed, instead of renting it out, sell it and earn solely from the capital appreciation. Naturally, you need to look at the local market, where there is local demand. In resort areas, for example, demand among locals is usually not very high, mostly among foreigners. You need to focus specifically on locations that are very attractive to the local population. This is due to the fact that even with the restrictions we had during COVID, those who bought property in such central locations in different countries, our clients, were able to successfully sell and rent out their properties, unlike those who bought in resort areas or in other cities that are not as popular among the local population. This is also an indicator of what we encountered during the period of isolation, when the market stagnated and in some cases even declined or collapsed. So here we already have a lot of experience, and it's clear where the most resilient investment points are.
If we're talking about what to do with this property in the future, yes, you will live there yourself. Okay. By the way, all our properties are delivered fully finished with designer renovations, built-in kitchens and built-in wardrobes, but without soft furniture. So, for example, items like sofas and beds are purchased by the owner themselves, but everything else that's built in is already there. The property is turnkey, and you can basically move in and start living.
What is the starting price for a property?
At the moment, as far as I remember, what's still available starts from 235,000, I believe. There were units starting from 137,000 euros, but those are no longer available. For this area, for this size, and for a new development, that's actually a great price. And as you said, yes, the indicator is the local residents. Local residents mostly buy for themselves to live there in the future. But if you're not going to live there yourself and decide to rent it out long term, it will be snapped up immediately. No problem at all. For short-term rentals, if you want to use it like Airbnb, for example, the location is fantastic because the port is within walking distance. So you can take a walk or you can get to the port by taxi in just 5 minutes. Accordingly, it's a great location for Airbnb if you want to do that. Or you can find a company in Greece that can handle it for you as well.
On your own.
We don't handle that ourselves. We only assist with long-term rentals.
If you have any questions about this project or want more information, leave your contact details below this video. We will get in touch with you, send you the information, and of course go over everything in more detail during a personal consultation. Now let's move on to your next project. Let's look at the second project for comparison.
Yes, this is a completely different project, which you can see on the screen now. This is also in Athens, in the Calia district, which is a green area. Even from this photo, you can already tell that there will be a lot of greenery around. All the infrastructure is nearby. There are kindergartens, schools, shops, supermarkets, and a huge number of cafes. And honestly, a lot of Russian-speaking people living in Athens choose the Calia district for themselves. Here on the left side, you can see the metro line passing by, and the metro station is literally 20 meters away, so it's extremely close. You can walk to the metro in just 2 minutes. Of course, this will also be an A+ energy efficiency class. That is, you can see solar panels on the roof. Again, this means low energy consumption, so utility bills are much more affordable. Next to it is a neighboring building, which you can see with green grass on the roof, so to speak. Yes, that's also our project. We have already completed it. It has already been put into operation. This project has its own swimming pool. At the moment, the pool does not belong to our complex, but who knows what the future holds. As for our complex, the one we're talking about now that's under construction, it also features a monolithic structure with reinforced concrete and brick partitions. That's an important point. If we're choosing real estate for ourselves, if we plan to live there in the future, and of course for resale, the quality of construction matters. Here we also have our own parking. There is parking on the ground floor, and there is another level of underground parking. But in this complex, parking is not automatically included. So there are units here that come with parking, and there are units without parking. In other words, the client chooses for themselves. If, for example, they plan to rent it out as an Airbnb in the future, then there's no need to get parking. If they plan to live there themselves, then I strongly recommend definitely getting a unit with a parking space. Here we have two types of layouts. There are studio apartments with prices starting from 110,000 euros, and there are also two-bedroom layouts on the upper floors. In terms of location, it's right next to the metro station, which has the same name as the district, Calia. By the way, from here you can see Piraeus very well, the first complex we talked about. From Calia, it's very convenient to get to any part of the city, wherever you want to go, whether it's the waterfront, the beach, or the marina. That is, those are the places where yachts are docked. There are also a huge number of cafes along the waterfront with an amazing atmosphere. Whether it's evening or daytime, you can take a walk and enjoy this aesthetic. In the morning, many people go jogging along the waterfront. It's amazing.
So, well, let's repeat that once more, yes?
Yes, we have 7 floors.
7 floors?
Well, in Greek terms, according to the law, it's 7 floors. Factually, it's 7 stories because we also have a ground floor where the parking spaces will be and a minus first floor for another level of parking.
And here we have a more, let's say, technical part, right?
Technical information, of course. We use aluminum frames with double glazing. All our facades are required to have thermal and moisture insulation. Rather, insulation is clear to us. For Greece, it's more important not so much to keep the heat in, but to preserve the coolness. Because in the summer, when it's hot, and especially in Athens, it's usually hotter than it is cold, we're talking about the need to cool the space, and we want to keep that coolness inside, like in a thermos, as much as possible. It's precisely the new technologies we're building with that make this possible. So our apartment ends up being like a thermos. That is, we retain both warmth in the winter and coolness in the summer. Also, all apartments are delivered with designer renovations or built-in furniture. That includes the kitchen, bathroom, and wardrobes as well, right? If we're talking about soft furniture, then the new owner buys the soft furniture themselves. All the plumbing will definitely be installed. We will be handing it over as early as June next year. That is in June 2026. It's always important to remember that in any new building, there's a period for connecting utility services. So we hand it over, and then the utility companies connect the water, electricity, internet, and sewage. This is completely out of our control. So here it all depends on how quickly the city services work. Of course, we submit the applications and register everything, but it's not up to us when they will connect it. Here on this slide, you can see an approximate interior that will be here. Everything except for the upholstered furniture will be included. We mostly design in these calm tones.
Yes, neutral ones. And if someone wants to add something, they can do it themselves in terms of design. That can always be custom made.
Of course, but overall it's a designer renovation. The only things that won't be included are the bed and chairs. Those won't be there. But that's not a big problem. You can buy them at any store.
So, we have two properties here, and they are completely different from each other. What unites them is that both are suitable for personal residence, if you're planning to move to Greece, and of course, for capital appreciation, since both properties are still under construction, albeit at different stages. They're also suitable for future rental if you're looking to generate passive income. Thank you very much, Elena, for such a detailed and thorough conversation. Of course, there will still be questions left, and Elena and I will be happy to answer them during a personal consultation. Or you can come to Greece and see everything in person. Leave your contact information and we'll find a property for you. If this property doesn't suit you, we'll select others that match your goals and needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julia, for inviting me. There's always such a warm atmosphere on your broadcasts, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you very much.